Hi, I thought it was high time for another chatty video about a book-related subject, but first, this is the first of, I'm guessing it'll be 12 videos because for the rest of the month of April, I'll be doing daily videos. You might remember that for a couple of years, every February, I would do a video every day. It was called Helmiku. I got to a point where I was working full time where it just wasn't really possible anymore. But now that I've gone freelance, I am trying to find the balance between doing YouTube and doing freelance work, but it's so easy to get lost in all the admin and kind of being stressed about future work. I used to film like 3 or 4 videos on a Saturday, and now that I have all the time to do it, sometimes it feels like it's not as high stakes or as high priority, but I love making videos. And I thought this would be the perfect opportunity to finish up edits on videos that I've been working on for a while, shoot some other ones that have been in the pipeline. Stay on the lookout for that. This is actually kind of a random one that I was thinking about this topic myself. I asked a question on Instagram stories. I guess the main thing that happened to me that made me think about it this week is that I got maybe 2.5 hours into an 8-hour audiobook and realized that the book just wasn't for me. They both die at the end. You've probably seen me like show a proof in a previous video. I downloaded Script because Jean was like, there's a bunch of good audiobooks on there. So I signed up for the free trial and I was like, oh, that audiobook's on there, I'll start listening to that. I liked the premise, I thought the characters were fine, but I basically realized 2 hours in that I didn't necessarily want to spend a further 6 hours with the story. I don't abandon books as much. Also, I think the term abandon is quite a highly emotional one. I feel like it's not as much abandoning books, which just makes you think of like a sad book in the corner that people don't want to read. I just think of it as I'm deciding to spend my time with another book. Sounds like I'm like breaking up with it. So I think I only intentionally put a book aside maybe 5 times a year. What happens most of the time is that I read a bit of it, I'm reasonably into it, and then kind of put it aside and then start reading another book because I usually have a bunch on the go. And though I haven't officially given up on it, it might have been like 1 or 2 years since I was reading it. So I think it used to be like quite a big decision when I actually actively decided while I was reading it that I wasn't going to finish it. I think I feel a little bit differently about it this year because you might remember that I'm taking on the 100 book challenge, so I'm trying to read 100 books in a year. I know people always say like the reading challenges add unnecessary pressure. I've talked about this before. For me, I want to spend more time reading, and this is the way I can sort of give myself a little push to read more instead of, be on my phone for hours a day. Personally, I don't feel any unpleasant personal pressure from it. I definitely don't want to send out the message that like everyone should be reading this number of books a year. This is my personal goal. I'm very much enjoying it. I think especially this year there's like a weird balance between I'm halfway through this book so I should probably finish it so I can add it to like my number for the year. But somehow because I'm spending more time reading, I'm also just valuing my reading time more, and so I don't really want to continue reading a book if I'm not enjoying it. And after making my To All the Books I'll Never Read video, where I calculate how many books I'm likely to read like in the rest of my life, it just really kind of puts into perspective that I don't want to spend time with books that I'm not enjoying. Before I get to your answers, I wanted to take a quick look at my GoodReads to see what I'm currently reading and if there's any of those that I should probably consider like dumped. If you'd like to follow me on GoodReads, by the way, it's goodreads.com/booksandquills. So I'm reading the 5th season, actually actively reading that. I'm reading Heartberries. It's on my nightstand. I'm reading The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet. I'm actually like almost done with that. I actually started reading Becky Chambers' newer book because I was interviewing her about it, so definitely will finish this. Big Bones by Laura Dockrell. Yeah, I'm gonna finish that as well. Ooh, La Belle Sauvage. I downloaded the audiobook and I am actually finding that I will more easily stop listening to an audiobook because you can see how many hours are left. And I feel like that really puts into perspective like, oh, am I going to spend another 20 hours with this book, or would I rather do another one? And sometimes I have spent money on an audiobook and kind of regretted it, and then sometimes it's been part of like trials of subscriptions, or you can get a refund on it. Kind of depends on whether you can get your money back, I guess. The Fandom by Anna Day. That has been put away for a really long time, but I think I do want to finish that as well. Homodeus, that has been put on hold for a reason, which you'll hear more about. Ooh, The Water Cure. I don't know why I put that aside. I think that I just did like a reshuffle of the books next to my bed and that one went away and it needs to come back. Oh, Solaris, I was reading that for the Space Readathon, and again, just like for no particular reason got put aside. So I think I'll finish that as well. Okay, so the question of when should you give up on a book? When should you stop reading it? I asked you what page you usually decide to keep reading or to stop reading, and a lot of people said the same numbers. There was a lot of 100 pages, there was a lot of like 50 to 100, and then loads of people said, oh, it's a percentage, so it's maybe a third. Someone said the halfway point as a minimum. I think that's quite a lot. And probably if I've made it to the half point of a book, I'll probably finish it. Someone said the whole book, lol, which yeah, I think a lot of people do kind of persist through even if they're not enjoying it. And then one person said it isn't really a page number, it's more of a, oh dear God, I cannot actually go on feeling, which I feel that. I mean, if that happens, I am definitely out. I think over the years I have found that the 80 page mark is a really good indication of whether I'm going to get into it. So usually after 80 pages, that's when I get drawn in and that's when I finish the whole book. If I don't read at least 10 to 20% in the first couple of days of a book, there is a big chance that it will just stay on my nightstand for like the next year. My currently reading thing on GoodReads, every year at the end of the year, I reset it and I give myself a clean slate. Otherwise, I'd probably end up with hundreds of books on there. Because I did also sometimes have to read a lot of books for work, and I would kind of read basically as much as time would allow, and enough that I knew what I was talking about for whatever the event was or anything else, because there's just not enough time to read all of them. And then there were quite a few that I finished because I was really enjoying them, and then there were some where just there was no time to finish them and they've just kind of been abandoned along the way. So I definitely think personally I should stop reading books more. You do kind of feel that guilt when you leave a book behind, but I think I should do more of it because there is so much I want to read, and I'm actually tempted to do a little experiment where I read the first 2 chapters of, like, let's say 20 books, and then see which ones I want to keep and which ones I can give to someone else or donate to charity. Let me know if you would enjoy a reading vlog where I just read the first like chapter of a ton of books and decide which ones I'm gonna continue or which ones I'm not. And other than that, I would of course love to hear your thoughts on this in the comments. And I bet there's a few people that are basically like, no, you have to finish all of it. And I'm actually really curious to hear if there are any books that you thought about giving up that you then finished and actually ended up enjoying. Because there's obviously a bunch of books that I've given up on that, I don't know, maybe I would have enjoyed them, but I think I was so convinced at the time that I wouldn't, that's why I stopped. Happy reading. I hope you enjoyed the videos that are coming up this week. Stay tuned, come back for a new video every day. And that's all for me. Thanks so much for watching. Doei!